Woman sends her ill daughter overseas with a stranger who reveals his true identity after 15 years. Maya Hughes needs immediate medical attention. She was suffering from a life-threatening disease and needed to be medicated, and the girl and her mother was in Sierra Leone, and the only way to get her back to health was to take her to the US. The woman was incapable of doing so as she was dealing with some family problems. She had to stay in Sierra Leone for a longer period of time. Now this required for a chaperone who could take Hughes to the US. There was no one in her family who was flying to the US, and so she decided to take help from any stranger at the airport going to the US. She found a man who agreed to be her daughter's chaperone. She sends her daughter away with him, who she had met few hours ago only. Fast forward 15 years, she learns a strange fact about the man. Zainab Sesay's childhood passed in Sierra Leone. However, soon she moved to the US. In 2003, she decided to fly overseas to go on a 6-month journey in her home country, but this time she was taking her daughter as well. It was after 10 years she was going to see her home. Little did the mother-daughter duo know that this trip was not going to be the way they had expected. Things began to deteriorate when Hughes got inflicted by a medical emergency in the 4th month of their 6-month-long stay. Hughes made a tweet after 15 years. It was a life-and-death type situation. Sesay was grappling with her own set of problems. There were some of her family problems hanging in here in Sierra Leone for many years. She had to deal with all of them, and because of that, she could not take her daughter with herself back to the US. The woman forcibly made the decision of buying a one-way ticket to her 5-year-old daughter. Sending a child of Hughes' age all alone onto an airport is indeed a very difficult thing to do for any mother. It must be like carving out a piece of the mother's heart. Although children of Hughes' age can fly on their own, they are prohibited from making a journey all by themselves to a plane with relatives. She did not have any other option. There was no one in her relation who could agree to be her chaperone, so she headed to the airport and started to ask strangers if any of them would become Hughes' escort overseas. However, no one stood up to take responsibility. Hughes recalled, "Of course, everybody had an excuse." Eventually, Sesay paced towards a gate agent and inquired him if anyone in the waiting area was making a journey back to the US. The female gate agent pointed towards a man standing in one corner of the room. Sesay later explained that the woman was talking in Creole. Sesay too had good command over Sierra Leonean Creole. The agent replied, "Well, you know, that white guy over there is traveling." Without wasting a moment, Sesay walked up to the man and asked him the most insane question anyone could possibly ask. Initially, the man showed reluctance and gave a very valid reason for his inability. "He told my mom he was in no mental state to travel with a minor because he had just lost his grandmother," said Hughes. The man was flying to the US only to be a part of his grandmother's funeral. However, the man ultimately agreed to be Hughes' guardian when he learned about her serious condition. So this is how Hughes' mother saw her flying away with a stranger in an international airport. Her mom did not leave the airport until the plane of her daughter did not take off. The woman did not know that the decision she had taken was right or wrong. She did not know when she was going to see her again. All of a sudden, the adrenaline kind of went away, and I realized, oh my god, I just handed my only child at the time to a complete stranger. What if that stranger was not a reliable person? He had mentioned that he was not able to fly with kids. Was her daughter in safe hands? The flight had taken off. The 5-year-old girl had started her journey with a complete stranger. They crossed many layovers holding hand in hand. In the beginning, it was a bit difficult for him to deal with the small girl as he had no experience. However, the flight attendants extended their hand of help on seeing him struggling with the kid. Not only that, they even served first-class meals, which is way more than they can expect. Even though the girl was quite young, she remembered everything. She recalled going through a lot of chaos that day. The stranger dealt with her as calmly and politely as possible. She said, "I just remember crying a lot on the plane." She further said, "I remember him trying to calm me down. That's all I remember, really, just him trying to calm me down on the plane." Her mother indeed had made the right decision. Hughes was very small, but there were some pieces of this incident that refused to fade away from her mind. She vividly remembers how he did his best to try to calm her down. He even went on singing songs in Creole to screaming, crying 5-year-old in an attempt to quiet her down. The girl has lots of respect for him and makes it clear by asserting he was really nice. The tedious journey finally came to a rest and Hughes deboarded the plane with her accompanier at Dulles International Airport. Cece had already informed Hughes' grandmother about her arrival. She was at the airport waiting for her granddaughter. She picked her up and gave her a tight hug. The man, on the other hand, bid goodbye to the little girl and went on his way. The very next month, Cece came back to the US. From that day on, the little girl would not stop talking about the man. I always gave my mom a hard time because he was a complete stranger and it was risky. Though many years passed by, they still wondered who he was. They discussed the instance with their many family members. A decade had gone by and, as usual, one day she shared the same story with one of her cousins. It was from there she received a big breakthrough. The story that Cece told rang a bell with her cousin. Someone had told her about it. It was her former colleague. She revealed it to Cece. However, her cousin had no idea where he was now and what he was doing. She had lost touch with him as they are not working together anymore. The latter was not staying in the US anymore. 6 years passed by and her cousin made a visit to Cece in the US. She mentioned the story again that Cece had told her. Her cousin had an update on it. Cece said, "My cousin said, 'Hey Zainab, did you ever track Tom Perello down?' And I said, 'Who's that?' It was then her cousin told her that Tom Perello was the guy who had saved her daughter. Cece quotes her sister, 'The guy who you said brought Maya back. Remember? I told you he's a colleague of a colleague.' This was the first time Cece was hearing his name. However, the revelation had infused hope and determination into her. She soon found his email address and sent a text to him. Cece covered everything in the mail. She began how her daughter got struck with the life-threatening illness. She apologized in her letter for troubling him. The woman did not know if the recipient was the same man or not, but she sent the letter anyway and started expecting a response. Cece finally got a reply. Perello reverted with confirmation that it was him who had helped her out in her tragic situation in 2003. She was all surprised when his reply reached her. She said, "I jumped out of my seat." Many things had changed over the years. Perello had made a successful career both in public service and politics by now. Not only that, he had even led the center's advocacy endeavorings in the direction of American progress. Thereafter, he went on to serve as a congressman for the state of Virginia. He even got the opportunity to serve as a special envoy under the Obama administration. He was employed in the State Department. The list does not end here. In 2017, he even made a try at the Virginia governorship. In 2003, Perello had taken up the job of a spokesperson and advisor for the UN. On that very day, he flew to Sierra Leone to participate in a UN War Crimes Tribunal. This particular panel was given the task of prosecuting people involved in committing human rights abuses during the Civil War. When Cece approached Perello in the airport, the man was already struggling with two bad news. Firstly, it was the death of his grandmother, and secondly, the fact that Tribunal was going to charge Charles Taylor, Liberia's dictator, for his wrongdoings. Perello later on explained, it was in some ways the worst possible emotional space to be in. Perello explained, it was an incredibly vivid memory that seems like something out of a movie. It just wasn't clear if it was a happy or sad movie. He remembered he was literally working multiple phones to figure out his own travel plans when Cece approached him. This is why Perello did not pay much attention to Cece's request of taking her child home as his mind was already occupied, but ultimately his kind heart melted. He could feel her urgency and desperation. Furthermore, things happening in Sierra Leone had inspired him to help those in need. He had witnessed a precarious humanitarian situation. Perello reaffirmed everything Hughes had said. He indeed had sung a song in Creole to calm her down. He did not remember much of the lyrics of the song, so he would sing only a line of it to her. Not to mention, the journey was not an easy one for him. These two were not related at all. In fact, they did not even know their names even a day ago. They were about to face a lot of questions. Perello explained, there was some serious drama on each leg of the trip, as there should have been under the circumstances. But we worked with officials and some agents at the airlines to make sure Maya got home safely to her grandmother's care. But he was content that he was doing something good. Lastly, the man's responsibilities would end once she gets reunited with her grandmother. Perello remarked, one of the happier moments in my life was seeing Maya run into her grandmother's arms. Though that was a happy moment for all of them, it did come with some serious consequences that concerned his personal life. Hughes and Cece were not aware of that until they met Perello again. Perello opened up that he had to rush from the airport arrivals region to make Hughes meet her grandmother. Doing that required him undergoing security checks again, which made him miss the flight again. Unfortunately, he could not reach his grandmother's funeral. The unexpected revelation did make Cece feel bad. She did not know that the man had missed his grandmother's funeral because of them. That really dampened my heart. It was horrible. I didn't realize. These pieces of information were exchanged through emails. Hughes could not help but share this amazing story with the world on Twitter when she learned about it. "My mom has been trying to find this man for 15 years. We never got his name or anything," Hughes tweeted. "My mom emailed him, and this man remembered everything. He said he never forgot about me or the songs he was trying to sing in Creole. He had told his family about it and everything." She concluded by saying, "There's a huge possibility I wouldn't be here today if this man didn't bring me back over here. Finding him after 15 years is really crazy because I thought about it a lot. He didn't owe me anything. I'm so grateful." No need to say, the story went viral through Twitter. The story gathered a number of retweets, likes, and comments. One person who commented on her tweet was Perelio. He commented, "One of the crazy experiences of my entire life is now a Twitter thread, and I could not be happier to know you are shining bright, Maya." After discussing the incident with each other through email and Twitter threads, Hughes, Ceci, and Perelio decided to meet in person to carry forward the rest of the stories. He said, "It's been an emotional week, and I think I didn't realize how much closure I needed on the experience." Ceci and Hughes always felt that they could not thank him enough, so they decided to put this story in the public domain and let the world know about this great deed. He's genuinely a good person, which is something we don't have a lot of anymore. If it wasn't for him, I don't know how I would have made it back. We've been trying to find him because we never really got to say thank you," Hughes closed in. Ceci was happy that she finally could show her daughter the face of her savior. Hughes used to wonder what her savior looked like. Ceci explained, "For 15 years I was looking for this ghost." She continued, "I hope to meet with him to get the opportunity to shake his hand and thank him for having done that." Those who heard about this amazing story had only admiration for Perelio. Many Twitter users dropped their comments. One of them wrote, "This story has all the feels. It's terrifying for you and your mom and scary, but brave for you. Brave of the stranger, too, to take this child to safety. The relief when you make it. Discovery when you find him again. Amazing." Another person tweeted, "Standing in a bar with tears in my eyes. What a great story. Thank you so much for sharing. We need reminders that humanity is alive." The story did restore faith in humanity for everyone.